Hey, now, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, 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 hello.
Hey now.
Hello, 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 hello.
Hey now.
Hey now.
Hey now.
Hey now.
Hey now.
Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Fun King Friday on the Line Talk 99.5 and talk995.com and our YouTube channel. And by the way, if you're watching our YouTube channel, I messed up last night and I didn't have the right setting on my beard trimmer and I pretty much wiped it out. It's not all the way wiped out, but it got wiped out a lot. I ended up cutting my beard, if you can even call it that, a lot shorter than I anticipated. So now I look like a baby.
It happens. I've done that too.
I hate when it happens, dude. I feel like I look stupid. And so I wore my hat backwards to try to distract from my lack of a beard.
Gives you even more youthful look.
Yeah, and actually kind of does. It really does. Man, stuff moving at rapid pace today. Couple things. We've got Greg Bavino, Border Patrol Commander, speaking right now. But I want to make a couple points before we go to that. One is we're learning more about this 5-year-old that was detained by ICE. Remember, it was a big whodunit. The media made a big deal. J.D. Vance addressed it yesterday. We have now learned that the ICE agents, okay, so here's the scene in case you don't know. ICE agents were pulling over an illegal from El Salvador. All right, the illegal pulls over, jumps out of the car, and runs, abandoning his 5-year-old in the vehicle. So, because ICE can't leave a 5-year-old there to freeze to death in the middle of winter, they get the 5-year-old and hold them and take care of him until they can figure out what the next steps are going to be. It turned out not only was he not detained, but what ICE did was they took the kid to McDonald's and played him his favorite music to help soothe him. When's the last time you heard of police detaining someone and taking them to McDonald's?
Not often.
Like, how about never?
And talk about something that the Democrats aren't going to let you know about.
That's exactly right. So I just want to preface with that, but let's go ahead and get the ball rolling live in Minneapolis with Greg Bavino.
As the child woke up, we understood the child's parents were not with him, and medical examination saw that this child had non-surgical sutures in his abdomen. Let me say that again. Non-surgical sutures in the child's abdomen. He was being trafficked across the border in that condition. That's not an isolated event with the U.S. Border Patrol or ICE. We saw that many, many times. Drug children coming across the border, and guess what? Other than a couple of news outlets, I believe News Nation and Fox reported, nobody else would. Nothing on a child with non-surgical sutures in his abdomen, and nobody knows why. Now, the 5-year-old yesterday, some of you had questions on the 5-year-old yesterday. That 5-year-old remains with his family. We say that again, remains with his family. We know that. That false media narrative that was pushed out yesterday was false. It remains with his family. But let's talk about who doesn't remain with their family. And I think this is the most important thing that we're talking about with children. How about our victim of the day, a victim at the hands of illegal alien criminals, these same criminals that we are taking off the streets that you see on these screens behind us. This victim was Rachel Morin. She left behind 5 children. Let me say that again. She left behind 5 children after she was killed by an illegal alien from Central America. He decided to murder her and hide her body in a culvert. Oh, wait a second. That was after he raped her. She's separated permanently from her 5 children. Let me say that again. Separated permanently from her 5 children. Why isn't that reported on? Very little reporting in the local news media or the news media.
I just want to jump in here
On
real
those
quick
types of
for our radio
situations.
audience, just so they don't get confused. What they're doing is they're playing audio or video of protests from over the past several days in the background. So there's not actual protest going on at this press briefing. So I wanted to clarify that. Let's go back live.
The DSP. American citizens that are arrested daily here in Minneapolis. Are they separated from their children and families? Absolutely, as they should be. Criminals face consequences. Criminals face consequences. But yet that double standard does not seem to apply to illegal aliens. Why is that? Perhaps someone could detail that for me, because I don't quite understand all the parameters involved in the DSP, the double standard phenomena. So, as we continue this mission here in Minneapolis, we will continue to take these bad people, bad things off the streets, despite the DSP, the double standard phenomena, despite the false narrative reporting by many news media outlets. We will continue unabated in our mission to ensure there are no more Rachel Morens separated from her 5 children. And I'll close by saying organizations, victims organizations, victims' rights organizations. What about the angel moms? That one's one that's never reported on. How many victims do you need before an organization like that pops up? It's not 1 or 2. I can guarantee you that. Look at MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, from back in the 80s and 90s. That organization popped up because a lot of children were getting killed by drunk drivers. Well, what about the angel moms now? How many victims of illegal aliens that should not be here in the United States are causing family separation for American citizens that's not reported on by most news media outlets? How many does it take? I'd like to ask, excuse me, PBS or CNN or any of the other outlets, how many? How many does it take? I'd love that question. There's another phenomenon there. I would love that question answered. But the fact of the matter is we do have angel moms, a lot of them, unfortunately. It's very heartbreaking to meet them, although they're not reported on very much. Heartbreaking. But we're here to ensure there are no more angel moms. We don't want more angel moms, and that's why Marcos and I are here. U.S. Border Patrol, ICE, and those allied law enforcement teams, we're going to take, again, these criminal aliens off the streets that you see behind us and that I've shown you this morning. We're going to take them off the streets wholesale. It's on. We won't quit. Thank you for your time this morning. I'll introduce Mr. Mark.
Okay, so there's Greg Bavino. I guess he's going to bring other people up. If he starts to take questions, we'll hop back to that. But a lot to get to on that front. Also, we'll do kind of our normal Friday stuff. I think Damien's going to stop by at 11. Now, we don't, football's, I guess, almost over. But, we can talk to Damien about anything, such as his love life or, when he's going to get married and stuff like that. That's the stuff I'm really interested in anyway. And maybe even Matt Murphy at 11:30. Hadn't talked to Matt Murphy in several weeks. He's got to get back on track, man. No more excuses. Hey now, roll call. Let's go. Who do we got today on the early side? 2 of you, Scott and Jamie. Scott and Jamie, just a tad bit early. So for this Friday, this Cover Song Friday, the number 1 Hey Down. The Hey Down roll call is Jimmy the Green. Hey now. So Jimmy, send us something that is a cover song, and we got you Tommy at number 2, Jesse at number 3. Then you got E. You got Ron in New Mexico with the J's. You got Jeff with the J's. Mark and Hippie with the J's. You got Cherry and Carrie, Maggie, Grumpy Old Goat, Gene, Patrick, Trent, Mississippi, Chicken Lady, Dr. McReady, Sheila, Justin, Boomer. Hey now, everybody. Thank you guys for hanging out with us and participating in my stupid little Hey Now roll call. Let's get it started when we get back on the other side. How does that sound? 205 545 9950. Back after this. right, so it seems like what they're doing here is detailing new arrests in their Minnesota operations and going through the list of the worst of the worst. The individuals that get detained by ICE that the media doesn't talk about. Isn't that amazing how that works? That some of the most hardened criminals are being taken off the streets. And how many articles do you see? How many reports do you see from ABC News or NBC or CBS about the child predators or the murderers or the rapists that are hemmed up by ICE? Do you see any of those articles? If they're putting them out there, they're making it really hard for people to find them because nobody seems to be able to find those type of pieces. But I'll get to all that in a moment. First, I want to start off with one of the funniest moments of last night, which was college kids from the University of Minnesota protesting outside the hotel that J.D. Vance was staying at. Remember, Vice President Vance was in Minnesota yesterday, gave a speech. Phenomenal job, by the way. Off the cuff, took questions from reporters, smacked them around a little bit, set the record straight. And so, because he was in town, these college kids from the University of Minnesota believed that J.D. Vance was going to be staying in some hotel in Minnesota. I mean, I would think it's probably common sense to say that Vance, who has the ability to hop on Air Force Two at any time and get to the other side of the country, back in D.C., back in Ohio, in a few short hours, that he wouldn't stay overnight in the cesspool known as Minneapolis, even at a nice hotel. I would imagine Secret Service would be like, nah, Mr. Vice President, I don't think it's a good idea because nobody around here is really that safe. But nobody thought that through. So these college kids stood outside in 15 below weather, banging pots and pans, playing trombones, and making a lot of noise in an attempt to keep J.D. Vance from sleeping. Little did they know, hours ago, J.D. Vance had already landed back in Washington, D.C. It's good. Hey, listen, do what you want to do. But I got to imagine the people that were staying at that hotel were highly pissed off.
I would think so.
And they're like, well, wait a minute. What is going on here?
Think about how that story would be so vastly different if they came down here and did that, though.
You mean in Alabama?
I don't care where in the Southeast. Pick a Southeastern
Yeah.
state. Try that at a hotel in some Southeastern state.
Oh, yeah. You'd get some Billy Bob walking down to that bottom floor and start opening some cans of whoop ass on them. It wouldn't work out. It would not work out. But again, in Minneapolis, I guess, the people that live there are probably just used to it. So they're able to tune it out. I mean, no matter where you go. And it's not like this is their first rodeo. As you know, they went through the Summer of Love, George Floyd, BLM. This is likely just a way of life for them. Not to mention that there's a lot of people in Minnesota that agree with this garbage. And because of that, they support it. They think they're an ally by staying up all night to the tune of pots and pans clanging together. They're helping support the fight against ICE. I don't know if the protesters have noticed this yet, but ICE they've been winning this battle. Like, the protesters have not been able to stop ICE from hunting down illegal alien criminals. They may block the road for 5 minutes, like Renee Good, but ICE is still doing their job day in and day out. So I would think that at least some of the crowd at some point would be like, okay, guys, maybe we should come up with a different strategy because nothing we're doing is helping. The only thing that's happening here is we're going back home to mom's basement with pepper spray in our eyes and getting arrested. So I don't know. I just some advice. I don't imagine that they would take my advice, but if you want it, there it is. You know, you can give it a shot. Let's move over to Davos. Davos, Switzerland, World Economic Forum. That was going on over the past couple days. As you know, we talked a lot about it, and we saw a lot of movement, such as the Greenland deal, as you likely know by now. We don't have the fine details of that yet, but likely to come out in the coming days. It was a win for Donald Trump, who is going to give the U.S. kind of a free-for-all, unlimited access to Greenland to do the things we need to do, such as the Golden Dome, mineral mining, and just general national security. So, once again, what people said Trump couldn't do, he pulled it off. And even Vladimir Zelensky was on stage in some sort of way complimenting Donald Trump. I want to get to that in a few minutes. I do want to go back to Greg Bovino, who is back talking on the case of the 5-year-old boy that was left. He says that the media was saying that they used the 5-year-old as bait to get the dad to come back. He's addressing that now.
I challenge any other law enforcement agency anywhere nationwide to show me the fantastic care that ICE and U.S. Border Patrol provide children. Don't come across the border illegally, especially don't commit crimes, or there will be consequences. And American citizens face it. So, the law is fair and firm.
If I may follow up, you said he's with his family. Another way of looking at that might be that we don't imprison or detain American children, penalizing them for the actions of their parents. So what do you say to those who are troubled by the contrast? They see a child in custody. American kids don't endure that.
Well, I don't think there's a contrast, and the child could be without his parents somewhere, perhaps in social services care somewhere. And that's what we see oftentimes by children that are trafficked across the border. It's heartbreaking. They're not with any family. They're with social services or Office of Refugee and Resettlement. So the child is in the least restrictive setting with a family member. I don't think it gets any better than that. And as far as the care, the best care that I've seen is ICE, U.S. Border Patrol, and the way we treat those illegal aliens that come across the border.
Can you give any details as to what that facility is like? What's the kid's life like?
I'll let Marcos talk about it. It's an ICE facility, not a Border Patrol facility, sir.
So our family residential centers, I had the privilege of working in one back in 2015. So I can tell you firsthand, they get top-notch care. They have medical care. The food is good. They have learning services. They have church services available. They have recreation. They have special caregivers to see to the needs of the children and the mothers or families that are there. It's better. Honestly, it's better than social services. So, I mean, like if we sent the kid to DSS, it'd be way worse off than being there with their parents in an FRC.
All right.
That's all the questions. Thank you, guys.
All right, so I guess they're wrapping it up there. Interesting to hear them talk about these family detention centers where they're provided food, medical care, church services, education services, and likely while they're there, they're living in much better conditions than they were even back home. And we would know that if the media would actually maybe talk to some of these individuals that are detained. I'm sure Border Patrol and ICE are not going to let them interview these people, but still, they can figure out a way to do it. They would understand. They would probably get that same sentiment. But the media doesn't care. You cannot hate the media enough. Just when you think you can, they do something more ridiculous and more disgusting than the next. And that's the trend. We've also got all these empty Somali daycares we could be putting these kids in. There's a lot of room. Apparently, according to DHS, 800 plus illegal immigrants have been arrested as part of Operation Midway Blitz, which is, as you know, the one out of Chicago. I don't have the numbers. Well, I actually do have some numbers on Minnesota, but I'll get to that soon enough. The protesters in Minnesota apparently have a rally planned for today. I don't know what that looks like. Their rallies are more like riots. So we'll see how that plays out. But let me back up. I'm going to be kind of all over the place for a minute. Let me go back to Davos and Vladimir Zelensky, who seems to have changed his tune a little bit. He looks like, and the reason I bring this up is because I think we are very close to a deal between Russia and Ukraine. He went from being a leader that was kicking and screaming, throwing temper tantrums over whether or not people were going to send him money, to looking like a beaten down, downtrodden shell of himself. And it could be maybe he ran out of cocaine or something. I don't know. But he seems like he's done. That's the that's the vibe I got from his body language, is that Vladimir Zelensky is finally at the end of his rope. And he goes on the stage at Davos and proceeds to basically tell the truth for once, which is Donald Trump is not going to waver. He stands where he stands, and you're either going to have to get in line or you're not going to get anything done.
Europe looks lost trying to convince the US president to change. But he will not change. President Trump loves who he is. And he says he loves Europe, but he will not listen to this kind of Europe. One of the biggest problems in today's Europe, though it's not often talked about, is the mindset. Some European leaders are from Europe, but not always for Europe. And Europe still feels more like a geography, history, a tradition, not a real political force, not a great power.
Now, what we have here is Vladimir Zelensky, for the first time in 4 years, showing up to Davos not as the star of the show or the belle of the ball, but as a weakened wartime leader that's in dire straits. In fact, Zelensky wasn't even going to attend Davos, wasn't even going to attend the WEF, but changed his mind or changed course in the pursuit to have a meeting with Donald Trump, which he did, but that meeting lasted less than an hour. But it was enough for Zelensky to be like, okay, listen, Europe. Donald Trump's not going to change. He's not going to change his position on this. You guys look weak because you're all talking tough, and then when Donald Trump shows up, you're all warm and fuzzy. When they leave Switzerland and go back to their respective countries, they'll probably start talking a big game again. He's saying, listen, you got to cut that out because we're not going to find a resolution to this unless you follow the leader. Europe's not going to bring an end to this war. Zelensky's not going to bring an end to this war. Putin's not going to bring an end to this war. You're going to have to follow Donald Trump's lead. He's the only one that cares about bringing an end to this war. As we stated yesterday, if Europe actually wanted the war to end, they would quit importing Russian oil. And they'll tell you, the media will say, well, they stopped back in 2022 buying Russian oil. Not true. They're still getting Russian oil. Even though it's sanctioned, it's still making its way into that country through multiple avenues. Even Zelensky admitted that during that speech. So he says Donald Trump is going to be the one to fix this. And you know it pains Zelensky so much to say that. It's the last thing he wanted to do because he thought he was calling the shots. He thought he was calling the shots because on the other side of the pond in Europe, he was calling the shots. He had gotten used to that. He had all of Europe backing him. And he still does. But now he's telling his backers, hey, it's not going to end until we take Donald Trump's advice. So that was a shocking turn in Davos. That was one of my big takeaways outside of all the awesome things Donald Trump said and did in acquiring, access to Greenland and everything else. Also, it is official as of yesterday, after 77 years, the U.S. has finally withdrawn from the globalist World Health Organization and essentially reclaims national sovereignty from unelected bureaucrats that aren't even in this country. Donald Trump last year signed an executive order withdrawing us from the WHO, and now that has been effectively put into place. The WHO can stick it where the sun don't shine. Remember the power that the WHO had during COVID? The absolute pull that they had on governments all across the globe, where they were able to dictate what was done, what was not done, what was permissible, what was not, what you could say on social media, what you couldn't, such as ivermectin. You can't talk about ivermectin. You can't talk about this. You can't talk about... That was all the WHO. They were the ones pulling the strings in essentially crashing the world's economy. And so if they want to wreck everybody else's country, that's fine, but you're not going to do it here. Not going to do it in this country. 77 years we were a part of that scummy organization. And just like that, we're out. Good things happening. I'm trying to be positive. It's Friday. I want to be positive here. What else is positive? Oh, murder rates. 125-year low in 2025. That's the lowest it's been since 1900. That's the biggest drop since 1900, should I say. The Council on Criminal Justice, nonpartisan think tank, estimated based on currently available data from U.S. cities, and this is crime rates in major cities, cities that the rate of homicides dropped 21% from 2024 to 2025 during Trump's first year in office. Quote, when nationwide data for jurisdictions of all sizes is reported by the FBI later this year, there's a strong possibility that homicides in 25 will drop to about 4.0 per 100,000 residents. That would be the lowest rate ever recorded in law enforcement or public health data going back to 1900 and would mark the largest single-year percentage drop in the homicide rate on record. And that's even up against Joe Biden's FBI fudging the numbers. They were making up. They were cooking the books to tell you the crime rate was going down under Joe Biden. And now that we're getting accurate numbers, we can see in one short year, homicides are plummeting. New York Times even has to admit the analysis of data from 40 cities by the Council of Criminal Justice found across-the-board decreases in crime last year compared to 2019, 25% fewer homicides, 13% fewer shootings, and 29% fewer carjackings. Federal Bureau of Investigation has not yet released nationwide crime data for all of 2025, but statistics published by cities and collected by independent researchers are already telling the latest chapter of a remarkable story. In just half a decade, cities have gone from upswings in murder and mayhem, the likes of which some had not seen in 25 years, to declines themselves worthy of headlines. The spikes began in 2020 with the shock of the global pandemic, and just a few months later, sweeping protests over police killings, both of which strained the capacity of law enforcement. Yeah, man, it's a bad day when the New York Times has to admit that Trump's got the crime rate plummeting. I'm surprised they did it. I don't know where exactly they put it on their website, but you probably had to really look for it. So, good stuff, man. Just, again, being positive, giving you positive news. I got more positive news. We'll get to that and much more when we get back. 205-545-9950. More of the line next.
I do want to go back to your numbers, though, because you were talking about the murder rates going down.
Yeah.
And I looked at it specifically because Washington, D.C., I lived up in that area for about 10 years, and that was the murder capital of the United States for the longest time. 2 years ago, they were in the mid-200s as far as murder rate. This past year, down to 127.
It's crazy.
All those people that were complaining about what Trump was doing in Washington, D.C., it worked.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. It's amazing how what a police presence will do when criminals are out there doing what they do, carjacking, gangbanging. They tend to not do that if they see a police officer around the corner. It's like magic. All right, 205-545-9950. We'll be back right after this. 205 545 9950. I was just watching a video of Border Patrol. It is some sort of Discovery TV show or something. And it's kind of like, it's like Cops, but it's following CBP. And they were working at the actual port of entry where cars, come through and they check the vehicles or whatever. And they pull a couple out of a car and they say it had the worst stench that you could ever imagine inside that car.
Like body odor?
Like they said it was like rotten eggs.
Ooh.
And so they, as you know, are forced with, looking through the car, seeing if there's drugs or whatever in there. I couldn't imagine, dude.
God, I wonder what they found.
Mm.
Ugh.
Yeah. I didn't get to watch enough of the video to find out what it turned out to be, but
Well, you can't do anything to the car. You have to do it in the state that it's in, because otherwise you try and like fumigate it or something like that, you might, mess up the evidence.
yeah, and it could
Ugh.
be maybe they have drugs and they just sprayed fart spray in there or something to, cover up the scent of the drugs. I mean, can you even use a dog at that point to search the vehicle? Wouldn't the smell be overpowering for the dogs? Some of y'all may know. Clean out your cars, man. What's wrong with y'all? I've had in my time as when I was doing rideshare, I've had some people get into my car that smelled like absolute death. And I would have to fumigate my car after dropping them off. I mean, Richard the Cop, those guys would call in and tell the same stories.
Oh, I'm
But
sure they
it's
would,
like,
yeah.
Man, here's the thing. If you're going to go out in public, wash your ass, okay? Just wash your ass. That's all we're asking you to do. Just for the sake of humanity, for the sake of society. Don't be getting out of here. Don't be getting out here with dirty ass. We don't want it. All right, 205-545-9950. Don's in Helena. Don, what's up, Don?
Hey now.
Hey now.
I love that catchphrase you got. Well, look, I was wanting to kind of talk about what do you think the correlation is between what Trump has done on cracking down on our illegal immigrants, how that has reduced, our crime rate, and also just the presence of ICE. I mean, when you got people that are out there on a regular basis, it does deter crime. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we still have our gang-related stuff, but what do you think about that?
About the presence of police being a big reason for the crime stats going down?
And also the fact that we've gotten rid of a lot of illegal immigrants that would have been committing these crimes and these, killing people and stuff like that. I mean, I would think that, so a lot of this has got to, also go back to thanking Trump for cracking down on that too, don't you think?
Well, yeah, and I think it kind of goes hand in hand to where illegals that are, have been committing crimes over the past 4 years, they are looking at this at the same way as U.S. citizens that are criminals are looking at it, in the sense of, hey, I've got to lay low. I can't be out on the streets doing whatever because ICE could be around the corner. So just, again, the presence itself is a deterrent for both illegals and U.S. citizens. But then, like you said, there's a factor of the illegals that have been deported, which is, I mean, in the big picture is just a small fraction of the people we need to get rid of. But it has. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is the presence of law enforcement that's keeping people, off the streets. And in reality, we know that's what works. I mean, like in Birmingham, if you were to up the police presence in the bad parts of town, crime would go down. It's common sense.
Well, that's what I, kind of bring a point to, because it seems like our, biggest murder rates are in the Democrat-run cities, if I understand things right, as far as, what's out there. And, I mean, they've been letting, crime runs, be run rampant, run free. And so, I think that, again, just this little bit has been a big deterrent for those guys. And so, like I say, just another kudos to, Trump's policies. And even though the Democratic cities really probably aren't doing what they need to do, we've got Trump that's putting the presence out there. So, yeah, and, just amazing what a little bit of showing the force, if you will, does the trick. Because what did your mom and dad say, or your dad say back in the day, or at least mine did? You spare the rod, spoil the child.
That's right. You got to get that discipline in there. Thanks, Don.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it, buddy. Yeah, man. Spank them kids. That's what I say. Spank them kids. Spank them criminals. That's it, man. I mean, that's in large part of why the numbers are going down. Day one, when Donald Trump came into office, he said this is going to be an administration of law and order. He committed to that. And these are the results. And who can argue with it? Who's upset about the crime rates going down? Nobody. Well, I'm sure somebody is, but we're not.